Hello friends, welcome back to B Pharma Wise. Today we are going to solve some MCQs from the unit 1 of Pharmaceutical Analysis 1. It is the subject for first year B Pharm, as you know, and we are going to solve the MCQs on unit 1. I'll be taking you through the MCQs one by one and we will together solve it. I'll give you a brief explanation for every MCQ and then I will also share some resources with you. Okay, so this video is going to be very helpful if you are about to face your exams, because nowadays all the exams are being conducted online and the mode is MCQs. So this video will help you for sure. So if you are new to my channel, hi, I am Supriya. I am a pharmacy teacher and I keep on creating pharmacy curriculum related content here on this channel. So if you are new here, please consider subscribing and please have your notebook and pen handy, because you are going to learn a lot of things and you are going to do some calculations as well. So now if you are ready, let's get started. Okay, so first let me take you through the syllabus. Of course, for unit number 1 of PA1, it covers 3 main points. First one is pharmaceutical analysis, its definition and scope. Here you are actually required to study different techniques of analysis. Now I already have a lot of videos ready for these points. Okay, I will put the links of these videos on the I button and in the description box. Okay, so you can check that playlist of pharmaceutical analysis for more in-depth study. Here I'll be briefing you through the points. So here you will learn different techniques of analysis. So like what is qualitative and quantitative analysis, what are the methods of expressing concentration, means what is normality, what is molarity, and then what is percent concentration, etc. Then primary and secondary standard, very important point. This question is almost every time this question is being asked. So primary and secondary standards, their requirements and their examples is a important point. Then preparation and standardization of various molar and normal solutions. This is again a very important point from unit number 1. The second most important point from unit 1 is errors. Now I already have a separate video about errors. I'll link it here. So here you will study sources, types of errors, methods of minimizing errors, accuracy and precision, etc. And then the third point is pharmacopoeia, source of impurities in medicinal agents and limit test. Again, limit test is very important here. Okay, so this is the syllabus of unit 1. Now when you are sure that you have covered the syllabus, you have studied this part well, then you should be solving some MCQs for practice purposes, and that's what we are going to do today. So we'll start with the first MCQ. Degree of agreement between a measured value and the accepted true value is. Now this point falls under the errors, and in errors we have studied accuracy and precision. So here degree of agreement between measured value and accepted true value. The accepted true value is the standard value, right? Then your value is called as measured value. So your value and the standard value, are they matching? What is the degree of agreement? Are they matching 100% or are they matching 90%? That will be referred as accuracy of your procedure. Okay, if it is matching 100%, your measurement is 100% accurate. If it is matching 90%, then your measurement is 90% accurate. So accuracy is the degree of agreement between the standard value and your measured value. So for this question, the answer will be accuracy. Okay, so I'll just put a mark here. Okay, and the correct answer will be accuracy. So degree of agreement between measured value and true value is accuracy. Okay, let's move further. Second question. reproducibility of results is called. Now again this question is from errors. Now see, as I told you, degree of agreement between standard value and your value is accuracy, but sometimes it may happen that an error is introduced every time you carry out the measurement. In that case you get same result every time, or even if your result is accurate and you are getting the same result every time subsequent times, then it is called as reproducibility of results, and the technical term for it is precision. Okay, so when you get reproducible results, when you get the same result every time, the results are said to be precise, so it is called as precision. Okay, next question. The ascertainable errors that can be either avoided or corrected are. Now again from errors, there are two types of errors basically, determinate and indeterminate. Determinate errors are the errors which can be determined, which can be ascertained, and as we can determine these errors, why this error is occurring, we can obviously eliminate or prevent it from happening. Okay, so these kind of errors can either be avoided or corrected. So such errors are called as determinate errors, and there are some random errors which we cannot determine from where they are occurring. Okay, those kinds of errors are termed as indeterminate errors. So here the answer would be, you tell, ascertainable errors that can either be avoided or corrected are determinate error. Yes, it is determinate errors. Very good. Moving further, next question, fourth. The error introduced by using faulty equipment is. Now if you use faulty equipment, the error which will arise will be called as instrumental error, because the instrument you are using for the analysis is faulty. Okay, either it may not be calibrated or it may be giving some kind of error, so that error can be called as instrumental error. Next question, impurities in chemicals, solvents, etc. cause. Now as the chemicals or solvents which you are using for analysis are impure, means the error which you are going to introduce in your analysis will be due to the chemicals which you are using, so that error will be called as chemical errors. Okay, so impure chemicals will give you chemical errors. Next, a substance used in standardization whose concentration is determined by comparison with a primary standard substance is. Now for this question falls under the point primary and secondary standards. For this you need to understand what are primary standards, what are secondary standards. Primary standards are the substances which are handful and which are of very high quality. Okay, they will be pure, they will be stable, they will be highly soluble in the solvents of your analysis, then they will have dry solid form, they will be cheaper, etc., etc. Okay, so these are the requirements for a substance to qualify as a primary standard substance, and then there are other substances which do not qualify all these criteria. We call them as secondary standard substance. Now for analysis, we cannot every time get a primary standard substance, we have to work with the secondary standard substances many of times. Now what we will do, how we will determine the quality or concentration of a secondary standard substance. So we do it by comparing the concentration of secondary standard substance with a primary standard one, and this process is called as standardization. I have discussed this process in detail in this video, go and check it out. Okay, so the question here is, a substance used in standardization whose concentration is determined by comparison with a primary standard substance is, by the time you must have guessed, it is a secondary standard substance. Okay, fine, so I am going to tick the answer, it is secondary standard substance. Next, I hope you are getting me, and if you are getting me, don't forget to like this video and please subscribe, and also share this video with other friends who are studying in first year B.Pharm, so that it could be helpful to them as well. Okay, 7th MCQ. Which of the following is a primary standard substance? Now this again falls under the primary secondary standard. I have discussed this in the video, go check it out, but here we have to find out from the given options which of these is a primary standard substance. See the options. First one is NaOH, sodium hydroxide, which is a base. HCl, acid. Na2CO3 means sodium carbonate. I have seen many students, they get confused between Na2CO3 and NaHCO3. Na2CO3 is sodium carbonate, means washing soda, and NaHCO3 means sodium bicarbonate, means baking soda. Okay, don't get confused. And KOH means potassium hydroxide. Now if you go through the examples of primary and secondary standard, you'll immediately answer this as sodium carbonate. Anhydrous sodium carbonate is a primary standard substance. Okay, so I am going to take, and now you have to remember that NaOH, HCl, KOH, they are not primary standard substances, they are secondary standard substances. Okay, so moving on. Which of the following primary standard substance can be used for standardization of sulfuric acid solution? Okay, now you know what standardization is, we just discussed. So in standardization we have to compare a primary standard with a secondary standard through titration. Now for acid base titration, if you are standardizing sulfuric acid, okay, just pay attention. Sulfuric acid you need to standardize, means sulfuric acid is a secondary standard substance. So you want a primary standard substance which must be a base. Are you getting my point? If you have to react an acid with a base and your secondary standard is an acid, then your primary standard must be a base, so that you can easily go about the acid base titration. So now from the options we will figure out who is a base and a primary standard substance. So the first option itself, anhydrous sodium carbonate, oxalic acid we cannot use, KHP, potassium hydrogen phthalate, again this we cannot use, benzoic acid, again this we cannot use. So we have left with only one option, anhydrous sodium carbonate, which is a base and which is a primary standard substance. So our answer here is anhydrous sodium carbonate. Next, one normal hydrochloric acid has molarity dash to its normality. Now I know many students, they can't answer this question. I don't know why you feel it so difficult. I'll explain this question. Just be very focused. Okay, whatever I am telling you is really important. Now look at me, what I am trying to show you is how you calculate molarity. What is molarity? When you dissolve the substance or the weight of substance equal to its molecular weight in 1 liter, to make 1 liter of solution, then your concentration is 1 molar. Okay, and what is normality? When you dissolve equivalent weight of substance in 1 liter, then your normality is 1 normal. Okay, now what is equivalent weight and how to calculate the equivalent weight? Video is here, go check it out, but still I will tell you in brief. Equivalent weight is calculated for acids and bases I am talking about by dividing the molecular weight by either acidity or basicity. Now what is acidity, basicity? Acidity is for bases and basicity is for acids. Now what is this? Let me take the example of hydrochloric acid. Now see, hydrochloric acid, when it dissociates, it produces one H plus ion and one Cl minus ions. So one H plus ion it is producing, so its basicity is 1. It is number of H plus ions produced by the acid, and in turn how many base moieties it can neutralize. So if it produces one H plus ion, it can neutralize one OH minus ion, so the basicity is 1. It is a very simple thing to remember, that number of H plus ions will be the basicity of acid. So here basicity is 1, so equivalent weight for HCl will be molecular weight upon 1. Its molecular weight is 36.5, by 1 comes 36.5. So equivalent weight is 36.5. So if I dissolve 36.5 gram HCl to make 1 liter solution, the concentration will be 1 normal. Okay, so one normal HCl solution we have prepared. Now molarity, what is molarity? Molecular weight dissolved in 1 liter gives you molarity. So what is the molecular weight of HCl? It is again 36.5 gram. So if I dissolve 36.5 gram in 1 liter to make 1 liter solution, it will be 1 molar. Now you can see in both the cases you have dissolved same amount of substance in the same volume of solution. So one normal HCl has molarity equal to its normality. Okay, this is the basic concept. Now you should understand this. Now when you understand this concept, whatever comes in front of you, you should be able to answer it. So we will see, I think, same kind of question in the next MCQ. So I'll take you to the next MCQ. See here, H2SO4 has molarity dash its normality. Now here, while solving such MCQs, you need to look at the terms, which term is used where. Now when they're equal, it doesn't matter, but when see, suppose it is called as, okay, first we will discuss this question, then I will tell you the point so that you will understand it better. H2SO4 means sulfuric acid. Okay, now sulfuric acid dissociates to give 2H plus SO4 minus means sulfuric acid is producing 2H plus ions, means its basicity is 2, right? So equivalent weight will be molecular weight upon 2. Now molecular weight is 98, so the equivalent weight will come 49. So when I dissolve 49 grams to make 1 liter solution, I am getting 1 normal solution of sulfuric acid. Now let's prepare the molar solution. Now what is molarity? When molecular weight is dissolved in 1 liter, that will be 1 molar solution. So what is molecular weight? 98 grams. It is dissolved in 1 liter, so it will be 1 molar solution. So I'll write it here, 98 grams in 1 liter to give 1 molar solution. Now you can easily make out, na? 49 grams in 1 liter is 1 normal and 98 grams in 1 liter is 1 molar. Obviously, which one is more concentrated? 1 molar is more concentrated. How much more concentration? See, 49 into 2 is 98. So normality, the solution of 1 normal and the solution of 1 molar, they are, means the molar solution is double the strength of the normal solution. Are you getting it? So now come to the question. H2SO4 has molarity double its normality. Okay, but if the question was asked like H2SO4 has normality dash its molarity, then it will be half. So you have to read the question very carefully. What they have asked, you have to answer the question accordingly. Okay, so in this case, molarity is double its normality. Okay, I hope you are getting it. Good. So let's go further. We have solved 10 MCQs and I hope you are getting it. So let's solve another 10 MCQs. Next question. Okay. How many grams of sodium carbonate will be required to prepare 100 ml of 0.1 normal solution? Okay. This question again falls under the methods of expressing concentrations. Now what you have to do is you have to learn a few formulae. Okay, so whenever you see this kind of question, first you see what you are asked to prepare, normal solutions or molar solutions. Here they have asked you to prepare 0.1 normal solution, and again they have given you the volume of solution to be prepared, and they are asking ki what is the amount of solute you need to dissolve to make that particular solution. So I'll give you one equation here, formula. Normality is equal to weight of substance upon, now for normality you have to take equivalent weight into volume of solution in liter. compulsory, yeah? It's in liter. This formula, if you remember, you can solve any MCQ of this kind. Okay, so we will now do, what is the normality of solution we want to prepare? 0.1 normal is equal to, what is the weight of substance? How many grams of sodium carbonate? Okay, so we have to find out the weight of substance. How many grams of sodium carbonate? We have to find out the weight of substance. So we will call it X. Equivalent weight. Now you have to find out the equivalent weight of sodium carbonate. Now how you will find out equivalent weight? So I'll given you the equation. Equivalent weight is equal to molecular weight upon now sodium carbonate is a base, so you will have acidity here. Now what is acidity? Either number of OH minus ions produced or the number of H plus ions neutralized. Now you know the equation or formula for sodium carbonate. It doesn't produce OH minus ions, right? Na2CO3 gives you 2Na plus CO3 minus minus. Now you will say that it doesn't produce OH minus. How we can find the acidity? It is very simple. See, who is the anion here? CO3 minus minus. Okay, so this will react with the corresponding acid moieties and they will it will neutralize the acid moieties. Now CO3 minus minus can easily neutralize 2H plus ions and it will form H2CO3 because it has 2 minus charge, minus 2 charge, so it can easily neutralize 2H plus ions, so its acidity is 2. Okay, and molecular weight of sodium carbonate is 10 is how much? 106, I guess. 106, yes. So molecular weight is 106 and acidity comes 2, so 53 comes its equivalent weight. Okay, so I will put the equivalent weight here, 53 in this equation. Now volume in liter. Now how much volume you have to prepare? 100 ml. So 100 ml, see, 1000 ml is 1 liter. So 100 ml is how much? Tell me. 100 ml is 0.1 liter. 1000 ml is 1 liter. So 100 ml is 0.1 liter. So now we will solve it. So we can easily solve weight of substance is equal to 0.1 into 51 into 0.1. So it comes 0.1 into 53 into 0.1. So it will come 0.53 gram. So now let's check the options. Yes, 0.53 grams. So this is how you have to solve such kind of questions. I hope you are getting it. If you are liking it, tell me in the comments below. Okay, and let's move further to the next MCQ. Again the same kind of question. Okay, 4 gram NaOH is added to water to make 1 liter of solution. The normality is, again the normality is, so you have to use the same equation. Normality is equal to weight of substance upon equivalent weight into volume in liter. So normality you have to find out for NaOH. Okay, now NaOH, for NaOH is a base, right? And it produces Na plus plus OH minus, means 1 OH minus ions. So obviously its acidity is 1. So its equivalent weight will be molecular weight upon 1. Molecular weight of NaOH is 40, so it comes 40. So the equivalent weight of NaOH is 40 grams. Now you have to find out the normality this time. Okay, they have given you the weight of substance. See, 4 grams NaOH are added. So 4 grams NaOH are added in water to make 1 liter of solution. So volume also they have given 1 liter in liter, and then equivalent weight you just find out. So it is 40. So you have to calculate 4 by 40, means 1 by 10. It comes 0.1 normal. So your answer will be, when 4 gram NaOH added to water to make 1 liter solution, normality will be 0.1 normal. So your option will be B. Okay, next question. Yes. Equivalent weight of aluminum hydroxide is how many times its molecular weight? Again, very interesting question. Equivalent weight of aluminum hydroxide, you must know the formula of aluminum hydroxide. It is AlOH thrice. Even if you don't know formula, you can you can derive its formula. Aluminum, you know, it is +3, and OH, you know, it is -1. So obviously for one aluminum you will need 3 OH minus, so the equation becomes AlOH thrice, or the formula becomes AlOH thrice. And when it dissociates, it will obviously give you Al triple plus 3 OH minus. Okay, so it is producing 3 OH minus, means it is a base and its acidity is 3. So its equivalent weight will be molecular weight upon 3. So this is what they have asked. Equivalent weight of aluminum hydroxide is how many times its molecular weight? So it is 1/3 into molecular weight. So equivalent weight is equal to 1/3 its molecular weight. So the option will be B. So that is what is very important. You have to read the question very carefully. If I would have asked this question as molecular weight of aluminum hydroxide is how many times its equivalent weight, then the answer will be 3 times its equivalent weight. Molecular weight is 3 times its equivalent weight, and equivalent weight is 1/3 times its molecular weight. Okay, good. Now the next question. Okay, now this is again very simple. Oxidation of a compound means, I hope you know the terms oxidation and reduction, so I'll better sorry, give you the definitions. Okay, oxidation. Now what is oxidation? If you add oxygen to something, it will be referred as oxidation. If you remove hydrogen from something, it will be referred as oxidation. And if you lose electrons from something, it will be referred as oxidation. Okay, so oxidation can be referred as addition of oxygen, removal of hydrogen, and loss of electrons. Now find from the options. Addition of hydrogen, no. Removal of oxygen, no. Removal of electrons, loss of electrons, yes. And increase in electronegativity, no. So the answer will be removal of electrons. Next question. Reduction is, now as we discussed oxidation, similarly we will discuss reduction. So in reduction, if you add hydrogen to something, it is reduction. If you remove oxygen from something, it is reduction. And if you gain electrons in something, it will be a reduction. Now find out. Loss of electrons, no, it is oxidation. Gain of electrons, yes, it is reduction. But still we will read the options, remaining options. Loss of hydrogen, no, it is oxidation. And gain of oxygen is again oxidation. So the answer will be gain of electrons. Next question. Quantitative or semi-quantitative tests designed to identify and control small quantities of impurities are called. Now if you know, this is nothing but the definition of limit test. So this is the definition of limit test. Now why it is called as quantitative or semi-quantitative? For this you need to understand two concepts. What is qualitative and quantitative analysis? This is one thing. And then what are limit tests and why these are performed, and how they can, you know, give you inputs about the amount of impurities present in the substance. So I'll link a video here, you go and check it out. Actually here somewhere in the I button and also in the description, go and check the video of limit test, where I have discussed what are limit tests, why we perform the limit test, how they are important, and also some limit tests like chloride, sulfates, ions, etc. So you'll find the entire playlist in the description box, go and check it out. But the answer for this is limit tests. Okay, now again the same question is from the same point. Limit test for chloride involves the reaction between silver nitrate and soluble chlorides. Now what happens in limit test for chloride? I'll shortly tell you. You have chloride impurities. Now when they are impurities, they are in the form of soluble impurities, so you cannot see them. Okay, chloride impurities are present because they are soluble, so you cannot see them. So what you do is you add silver nitrate to it. Now you know silver nitrate is a precipitating reagent in the presence of dilute HNO3. Okay, now what happens, this AgNO3 reacts with these soluble chloride impurities and they form a precipitate of AgCl. Now what is precipitate? When something cannot remain in the solution and it starts to get out of the solution and settle down at the bottom of the container, that we call it as precipitate. So AgCl is now precipitated, means it is not soluble anymore, so it is in a soluble form of chloride. So whatever chloride was there in the soluble form has been now converted to insoluble form. Are you getting it? So what you have done is you have get out the soluble chloride in the form of insoluble PPT. Now what you will do, you will have a standard or reference and you will check. Now as the precipitate is being formed, the solution will become opalescent, and then you will compare the opalescence of test and standard, and if your opalescence is higher in intensity than the standard, then your chloride impurities were very high in concentration, so your sample fails the test. But if your opalescence of this test sample is less than the standard, suppose this is your standard, this is your test, and the opalescence produced in test is less intense than the standard one, then your sample passes the limit test. Okay, so this is the basic thing about the limit test. Now why we are using dilute HNO3 here is it prevents the precipitation of other acid radicals. Okay, I have discussed everything in detail in the video, just go and check it out. Okay, so for this question the answer will be limit test for chloride involves reaction between silver nitrate and soluble in the presence of obviously dilute HNO3. Next one. Okay, 18th MCQ. In the limit test for sulfates, the acidity of the solution is controlled by using. Now for sulfate limit test, the acidity is controlled by using acetic acid. Now you have to read the limit test for sulfates. You go through the limit test for sulfate. Okay, I am moving to the next question. First IP was published in. Just remember this. First IP was published in 1955. Okay, so the answer for this question is 1955. I tell this like this to my students and they always remember. First IP was published in 1955. And the last MCQ. ISI has determined the temperature, means which temperature to calibrate the glasswares. Now you go in your labs, you take any glassware, the Borosil glasswares come which are used in the labs, you see them carefully and you will see one temperature noted there and it is 27 degrees centigrade. So the glasswares are calibrated at 27 degree centigrade as per ISI. Okay, so these were the 20 MCQs I thought are the most appropriate for exam point of view from unit 1 of pharmaceutical analysis 1. If you like the video, tell me in the comments below, and if you want to have part 2 of this video for unit 2, 3, 4, 5, then tell me in the comments below and share this video with as many friends as you can. That will tell me that yes, you are liking my content, and if you are really finding my content useful, then please subscribe to the channel, like the video and share it with your friends. Keep watching B Pharma Wise. I'll bring such useful content for you in the future also, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. So I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye.